Welcome to Women in the Mafia with Lisa and Staxx. I'm Bill Staxx.
I'm Lisa Lumine.
And we're here to talk about the blonde murdered jinx, which is Janice
Drake, aka
Drake.
Miss Legs, New Jersey. That's right. She was a hot number too. My goodness. What a bad
Yeah.
luck broad though, huh?
Oh man, she has an interesting story, and we're gonna get into it.
Right. It's one of the most fascinating. And I think probably what makes it so cool is that you can literally Google her name and there's the picture of her just taken out. It's pretty shocking. I love it.
Oh
You
yeah, with
know?
her sitting in the car. The
Yeah.
famous picture.
It
That
ain't pretty, my friends. She was beautiful, but her end was not, you know?
no,
Live
and
fast, leave a good looking corpse.
she was associated with a lot of these gangsters throughout the
Yeah. So,
year.
let's get into it. So basically, this girl was a former beauty queen. She was Miss New Jersey. She was married to Alan Drake, who apparently owned a few nightclubs. And, he was a comedian in the time. And I'm wondering, is that where she made her connections? I'm wondering. Probably so. The nightclub circuit back then was certainly a little one. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think she met some of these mafia connected guys. But yeah, she was involved with two other deaths of crime involved people and brought in with the police station. And she was known as a jinx throughout the mafia. And there was even a saying that if you want somebody rubbed out, let him go on a date with Janice the night before. No joke. So that's how bad luck this poor broad was,
And a lot of these guys had associations with her, like
Yeah. So apparently in 1952, she was dating Nat Nelson. So, here we go. We crime captain right here. And apparently the first night she's out on a date with him and they go clubbing and, multiple witnesses see him. The next morning, I guess she sees, finds him dead in his apartment. She goes over to go visit him and he's shot between the eyes. She's drugged into the police station. But apparently she didn't rat because Mafia kept, I guess, dating with her. Then she's out with Albert Anastasia the night before he gets offed. And, she's drugging again for questioning and, again, let go. And so on this particular night, I think it was 1959 or something? No, 1957.
57. Yeah. This
Yeah.
was
So
in between the time that so Little Augie had associations with the Genovese family, which was
right.
Giano family.
Right. And apparently he was, supporting Costello. So apparently he was loyal to Costello and did not want to, go down under Vito Genovese. And from what I understand, a lot of the soldiers felt more of a connection with Vito Genovese because he was more blue collar and more everyman. So Costello, his support was waning at the time. So Little Augie had been sent down to Florida apparently to, establish this gambling empire, which he did so successfully. He comes back to New York after Costello survives an assassination attempt. In support of Costello, Vito Genovese is like, we can't have this. We got to take this guy out. So that's what happens. And apparently on that night, he's out with Janice Drake. At first, they go out to the Copacabana. And then they go to Marino's restaurant together. And the story told by police is that they met out there, but I don't believe that for 1 second. I think she was with them from the get-go. I read a couple interviews from her family, and they said she left in a mysterious car that night. So I don't know if they just don't want to say or what. But they go out to Marino's, and apparently he gets a phone call, and people think that it was Costello warning him of the assassination attempt getting ready to happen. And so he leaves with Janice Drake, and it does not end well. They think who did it was Anthony Spartel. Was that his name? They think he's the one who carried it out because he actually said to his girlfriend, Arlene Weiss, who wrote the book Mob Girls, he told her that Janice was collateral damage. So...
And there's rumors that the person who killed them might have been hiding in the back seat of the car.
From what? Okay, so this is what I thought was really interesting. So apparently, and I was just telling you about this, there were 3 14-year-old kids out playing that night. And if you look in the comments at some of the YouTube videos, you'll actually see this woman who was a neighbor of one of the kids. So 3 14-year-old kids witnessed this, assassination of Janice Drake and Little Augie, right? 2 guys in the back seat of a car, and the 2 guys get out. They actually got the make and model of the car and the license plate, and then spent their whole lives in hiding because they were terrified that the mob was going to come and get them. The police did not, they said a witness. They didn't say who the witnesses was. So there was 3 14-year-old kids that actually witnessed the crime and were forever impacted by it.
And
So
nothing
go figure.
panned out from that.
Right. Nothing did.
Nope.
And apparently it was 2 people, you know, so they were hiding in the back and apparently drove them to a, you know, undisclosed location. What a scary drive. It was about 45 minutes away from where they originally were. So they, you know, gun to the head, drive, don't say a word, and then took them out, you know?
It's crazy. So
It's
Little
totally
Augie,
crazy.
he had an act of defiance. He was called
Yes.
in to a meeting, and this was in between the shooting of Costello in May 2nd of 1957 and the murder of
Right.
Albert Anastasia. So right in
That's right.
between that time is when he decided not to come in for this meeting.
And from what I understand, that was quite the act of defiance. And like, it was totally unheard of. And when Little Augie did it, he knew that his time was limited. Like, he knew, he was like checking over his shoulder left and right. Why he felt it was okay to go out to eat that night, because I don't know about you, I would have been hiding. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
Also,
because a lot of the other people who are in the syndicate with you, they know that you're out and you defying
right.
this guy's orders. So
And then like reading more about it and like why some of the soldiers, they identified apparently more with Vito Genovese because he was like every man. So apparently, you know, from what I understand, Costello is, you know, running these multi-million-dollar empires and going to like, you know, Paris and Costa Rica and Miami. And so the soldiers are still out on the streets doing their footwork. And they are looking at it going, you know, we're not reaping the benefits that we think we should. And Vito Genovese comes in and is like, hey, you come work for me. You're going to get the house. You're going to get the Cadillac. You're going to get the girls and then some. But you have to make a stand with me now. And apparently Little Augie was like, nope, I stay with Costello. And it does not end well.
and I think when Costello got shot by the Chin, the assassination attempt, which he failed.
Yes. And wasn't it something stupid too? Because like he came up to him and was like, "Hey, this is for you" or something, and so like he misses him or something like that. It was
Yeah,
like something
he
bizarre.
yelled his name.
Yeah,
He yelled. If
yeah.
he didn't yell his
If he
name,
hadn't yelled it, yeah, it's like the funniest story. Like, can you imagine? Like, what an idiot. You know, if I'm gonna take somebody out, I'm not gonna be up there like, "Hey, man," you know, like me. Like, I'm gonna be quiet, sneaking up. You know,
yeah,
so
the
yeah.
Chin Gigante. He yelled his name. Hey, Vito. He wanted him to know that he was killing him.
Yeah, and so he, you know, escapes this assassination attempt. But, you know, Vito Genovese right then and there is like, look, you got to stand for me or, you know, go. So if you're not going to fall under me, then, you know, go. And the soldiers at this time are all, you know, they want to go with Genovese because they identify more with him from what I understand. And Costello, although he had a good reputation as like, you know, building these empires, Genovese was like every man, and he had come from where a lot of the soldiers came from. So they actually identified so much more with him, you know? So I think when the decision was made to take Little Augie out, it wasn't even debated. It was like, you know, let's do this, let's get him out, you know?
So I hear that back in the day, Little Augie allegedly stole his name from another gangster
Really?
who died
Wow.
earlier in the century, and he took that name, the Little Augie
I did
name.
not know that. That's something. Well, apparently he wasn't little though, was he? Like wasn't he tall or something? Like he was opposite of little, right?
There's all these different
I could
different
not find a
things.
definitive thing about was he tall? Was he really little? Like where did the little come from? You know what I mean? Because he looks like he's a taller guy, you know?
Because these
So
first pictures of Little Augie, they have the names and the
right.
pictures mixed up. I think
Yeah.
they mixed them up with these 2 people, Little Augie, mixed up with this other guy who got murdered. He was a
Right.
Jewish gangster,
Go
and
figure.
his name was Little Augie, but his name was Jacob, I believe. This guy's name
Gotcha.
was
Okay.
Anthony, right?
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah,
Anthony,
yeah.
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 So
And so, you know, and basically, you know, Little Augie, of course, like I was telling you, made his bones because he was a really good earner in the beginning. Apparently, you know, he went through being a soldier and, you know, made his bones early. So he gets sent down to Miami to go build this empire for this illegal gambling. And along the way, apparently is a very savvy businessman because apparently he was able to really make these really cool hotels with spas in it. And apparently he was one of the first people to come up with the idea of putting spas in hotels. So he builds this multi-million-dollar empire in Florida just kills it. So apparently a very savvy businessman as well. And of course, comes back to New York. So yeah, apparently he was a very good earner, very clever and smart businessman as well. So many of them are, and that's what's interesting too. You know what I mean? Like, and what gets me is some of these guys came to America not even speaking English.
Yeah.
And end up building these empires that are just fascinating to me. You know what I mean? And they're running the streets of like, Jersey and Brooklyn. Unfortunately for poor Janice in this situation, I think just like, your boy Tony said, she happened to be collateral damage. I think this girl, for whatever reason, the allure of the mafia guys was just too much for her to turn away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she wanted to be around the glitz and glamour, and her husband, I think he probably wanted her to be associated with these people because it would help his
Well,
career too,
it
you
probably
know.
would. Yeah, 100%. A lot of those women, they say, especially like back in the old days, were supported by a lot of underworld people. And do I believe that 100%? Because, Hollywood was run by criminals back in the day. So, yeah, what I find interesting is like, when did she end up making these connections with these underworld guys and just decide, this is going to be my life? What's forgotten about this is that she was a mother. She had a 13-year-old kid at home, apparently. So apparently, she had seen the face of the people who were going to kill them, so she could not have been let go. And in the mob, usually they say children and wives, women,
Women are out
whatever.
of it. Yeah,
Right. But
they
in this
exclude
case,
them,
no.
but
Yeah. In this case, she was, collateral damage. And apparently, just the fact that she had been, privy to two other high profile assassinations, had been with the people before. What gets me is like the getting called into the police station. I would have thought that that would have been the first red flag for her having to be, rubbed out. You know what I mean? Because anybody, it would be, you would think that she was ratting. But apparently, I guess she kept her lips sealed. But it didn't save her in the end, unfortunately.
so here's a picture from that scene when
Oh
Janice
man,
Drake
she made a
got
beautiful
murdered.
corpse. They said that she was shot first in her neck. And from what the police officer was saying, because I was reading some of the police report, they were saying that it was basically that she, had, I guess, turned to run. And so that's why it got her in her neck, did not kill her right away, hence the second shot to the back of the head. So she had a moment, which is probably why her eyes are wide open like that. And she looks so shocked. Augie, of course, is over on the side on her lap. But
Yeah,
what a horrific, can you imagine like her kid opening that? Because like back in the day, I don't think people realized they would put these pictures in the paper. Like
in the
this
newspaper,
picture of her would have been probably on the front page
yeah,
with some
front
kind of
page.
horrible headline, Mafia Mall gets what she deserves or some horrible,
Right here.
something like that. Yeah. So like
Yeah,
her 13-year-old kid, his schoolmates were probably like seeing this in the paper. Also, her family was very, upset with this tragedy. Like they never fully healed from what I understand. The mother and father, it was her stepmother and her father who basically were always trying to fight for, to redeem her reputation, if you will.